Good evening, everybody. My name is Serafina Scapicchio. I am the Director of Philanthropy for San Diego Pride, and I want to welcome you to our Spirit of Stonewall series. The Spirit of Stonewall series is a virtual series of events where we're honoring our awardees this year. And tonight, I have the unique privilege of speaking with a wonderful man in our community who is very generous. He's a philanthropist, he's a business owner, and I think it's going to be a really interesting discussion. He is being honored this year with our Stonewall Philanthropy Award, which recognizes groups or individuals who have made exceptional fundraising contributions to the LGBT community, and he certainly has. Our 2020 Spirit of Stonewall Philanthropy Awardee is John Ealy. And before I bring him up to chat with me, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about him. He is actually a owner of a restaurant group. He told me he has 5 total. One is a local San Diego restaurant in Mission Hills called Harley Gray. They have an amazing lobster night, so I hope you will check it out. A large part of his intention with opening Harley Gray was to be a bigger participant and an influencer in the community, particularly in the LGBT community, which he is a part of. He has been giving back for years. For 20 years, he has been a wonderful advocate of the Trevor Project. I believe he's on the board. He's hosted many fundraising events for Trevor, and he's even marched with Trevor in Los Angeles Pride, San Diego Pride, and New York Pride. So he's really involved over there. Locally, he is been involved with the Rob Benson Foundation. Okay, sorry about that. Life during COVID. So it probably thought I was going way too long on this bio, but I just have to tell you, John Ealy has supported Rob Benson, Gay Men's Chorus, and not the least of which is San Diego Pride. He's been a wonderful donor to our youth programs, making sure that our kids get to go to the ballpark, that they get to go out at the fair, that they get to have fun, unique support groups. So I just am so thankful to have him in San Diego. And at this point, I'll just bring him up. John Ealy, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing really well.
Good, lovely to see you. Happy Pride Month.
Absolutely, 100%.
So I'm excited to get to talk to you and to have the community get to know you better. We really appreciate all you do. And reading through that long bio, it occurs to me that you have a very unique voice in San Diego as a successful LGBT business owner. So you've built up multiple businesses. What has that experience been like for you as an out gay man? Have you had any hardships? Have you been welcomed? What's the experience been like?
Well, I started my first restaurant at 23. It was back, yes. I was moving back to my hometown. So when I had moved away after high school, after junior college, I wasn't necessarily out. So I went to San Francisco to school. I was in LA for school and decided to go back to open a business. So it was kind of different going home.
Sure.
You know, I had come out to most of my family and I was out to most of my friends. But to go back home was kind of unique. So it was important for me to, when I opened the restaurant, to completely be out, it was kind of stressful enough and difficult enough to be doing what I was doing that I didn't to not be super authentic about who I was from the beginning. And, you know, it was in the mid 90s, so it wasn't super easy as it is now or as easy.
I can't imagine, honestly.
It was important for me to have myself be presented as a gay business owner and having it be gay operated and gay run, even though it was not a gay restaurant at all.
Well, I love that. What was the name of it? If we can.
It's called Ideal Bar and Grill. I still have it.
Great, wonderful. Well, congratulations on that success. I know, in the 90s being out, but there is some data that shows that people who bring their full authentic selves to work actually are more successful. So maybe that was an element.
I couldn't have done it any other way. It was never an option for me to think about moving home and not being exactly out with the situation. I mean, it took a few years for it to get really comfortable, and we got, not harassed, but there was phone calls a lot and people asking what was going on, and is this a gay bar, even though it was a huge, beachfront restaurant. But it was just important to be exactly who I was. And then when I moved to San Diego, we had taken over, a restaurant that had been here, the Boathouse on Harbor Island. It had been here for so long and such a staple in everyone's life for so long when I took it over. So it was just important. Every time I've done it, we owned a nightclub downtown in the Gas Lamp for about 7 years. A straight nightclub.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Good for you.
Right in the middle of the Gas Lamp. And it was, gay owned and operated, and it was just never an issue. It was just exactly kind of, I just knew it was going to be a much more of a positive and a secret to my success than it would ever be helpful by hiding anything. So.
And it clearly has been. So tell me about Harley Gray. What made you think that was the way to go for this restaurant? It's gorgeous, by the way. I love it there.
Thank you. I mean, I live in Mission Hills. I've lived here for like 12 years. I walked by that corner, multiple times. I had it in my head what I knew the neighborhood was missing, kind of. So that it was even before, I kind of thought all those things before the location even became available, and it hadn't been available for 30 years. The man that owned and operated it was, had been there for like almost 30 years. So I just noticed the corner. I noticed the location. I knew what it could be, quite honestly. And then with that being said, I mean, I had owned a restaurant on Harbor Island that's kind of really out of Hillcrest. Even though I hung out in Hillcrest and like knew everyone in Hillcrest and was a part of the community in Hillcrest, I really didn't work in Hillcrest, and it was kind of important for me to keep it separate at the time. But I just knew it would be a step closer to being more involved in the community. And it was just, my intention, honestly, was taking the best things from all my other restaurants, putting it there, grabbing concepts and menu items and even people that work for me everywhere and moving them to this area and to that location particularly. And like I said, the incentive from the get-go was, one of my main incentives was to be a bigger part and a bigger influence in the community, closer to Hillcrest and closer to the LGBT community.
Well, you did it, and it has a gorgeous brunch, so we're so proud of you.
It's been amazing. I mean, it was more than, I could have expected. Even the name, I mean, the name is from my two nieces' names put together.
I didn't know that. I didn't know your nieces' names.
My nieces' names are Harper Grace and Marley May. So I came up with this concept of Harley Gray, and once we got the name, everything else, since it was just kind of a mashup of the best things ever, I kind of just included that in my concept and everything. And it just kind of has always, that's kind of the uniqueness about that restaurant. It's been just a mashup of all the best things that I've learned in business and putting in one place.
Well, it's gorgeous. So congratulations. And I know it's been difficult because the restaurant sector has been especially hit by COVID-19. So talk to us about how that's affected your business, how it's affected your staff, your employer for many people.
Yeah, was honestly probably unfathomable. Something that you would never, you might have this fear when you open multiple locations and you have multiple people coming in, you have many employees, you have many customers on a daily basis. There's this fear of like an influence on business from, social media, an influence from, the economy and things you can't control for sure for one of your businesses, but to the concept of having all five at the same time, just closed indefinitely, unemploying, over 300 people that work for us. It was just tough, you can't really describe it. No one really has experience with it. There's no one to really ask advice. We just knew that as best we could, we would just be as honest as we could, as clear as we could, and let everyone know exactly what we learned as we learned it. I've always said that like during business being, slow times or difficult times is really when, as a business owner, you learn the most. You're not really learning the most when it's like, oh, super busy and everything's great.
Right.
You really learn the most, and you really evaluate, what you're doing, who you are, what your concept is, who works for you, what kind of boss you are. I mean, those things are all like evaluated when there's tough times. And this was just tough times on steroids, you know what I mean? Where you're evaluating not only each business, but every business and what your future is going to be, not just personally, but kind of for everyone else. And it just really made, the positive thing is that it's made everyone, including myself, ultimately better at business, and just reevaluating and not taking everything for granted, and not taking business for granted, and not getting caught up in the consistency and the sales and this week compared to this week, this month compared to this month, this location compared to this location. It really makes you evaluate like what your reasoning is for being there.
Well, can I tell you, we're so impressed with how you've pivoted. I've seen you do a lot of really fun takeout cocktail menus, to-go dinners. I mean, you have been super creative. So congratulations on that. And is there any advice out there? I mean, there's people tuning in who are business owners, who are going through the same thing you are. Are any successes you want to share?
I mean, what I would say is just take the opportunity to reevaluate, what you're doing, what the reason you're doing it. It really makes you self-reflect on, is this exactly what I should be doing? And then at the same time, what I did notice even best, like thing that I noticed that was the best, is how much I learned more about restaurant owners. Of course, I know them in socially, but I think as a group, we all like got together and supported each other so much more than we ever have before. That concept of competition wasn't around. How we can help, who we can help. Everyone was doing. We participated, but everyone was doing, free food or discounted food or food for industry workers, healthcare workers. We did something for healthcare workers. I mean, so those types of those types of like positive things that happen from this it would never have happened without something this major kind of. So yeah, I mean, the employees, we were really fearful about employees coming back, and a couple of the restaurants has had 100% of the people return within the first week.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, you know what? You take good care of your people, so I'm not surprised that they came back. And frankly, this is a philanthropy award, but about what you give to charity. But I know for a fact that you've done a lot for your staff during this time. So I mean, I can't imagine them, not wanting to come back.
It was awesome. It was kind of shocking at one side, but then really just comforting at another, and just really, I couldn't be happier about it, to be honest. Like it spoke volumes to me just by them returning.
Well, speaking of your charity, your charitable heart, you have done so much for various charities over the years. Can you tell people at home a little bit about who you support and what draws you to them?
Yeah, I mean, I pondered this a little bit when I knew I was going to be talking about the different ones, and even when I was sending in the photos and stuff, and I was thinking about like the Trevor Project and really how connected I was with that, as far as and this was prior to really like social media. To be honest, it started in about I started going in 2000 was the first year I went, and it was grassroots at that time. It had only been around for about 3 or 4 years. The people involved were the founders, and there was no one else, and it was just really like grassroots from the get-go. And we hosted events. We housed like the executive director and the founders at my apartment, at my house, and
I love that.
it was really, really a great experience. But the more I thought about it, I was just like, to watch it grow into this big, it's so big now, and such a great, it's done so much, and I've been a part of it along the way. And then just noticing with Pride, with the youth at the park, or the out at the park for the youth, and the fair, and just all the different events, I just have realized that really the connection for me, I think, has to be the youth. And really, there's so many aspects of anti-bullying and supporting when you don't have that support at home. Things change. You believe one thing when you're a certain age, and then, without sounding cliche, like things really get better. And so I just really found that those were the things for me that drew that I could have the biggest influence. I don't know, it's just something that I was a part of. I found here and there when I was in high school and junior high, locally where I grew up, and it wasn't anything national, and it wasn't anything really that big, but there was meetings, and my mom started going to PFLAG right when I had told her about coming out, and there were just small factors of those companies and those types of like social helping and social assistance for youth that I thought I needed to do something for as I got, I guess, more successful or even older.
Well, we're so glad that you did. And I do find it as a common thread for our community to want to make it easier for the next generation. So we feel blessed that you have given so generously to Pride. And I actually forgot to tell you, I don't know if you know this, Trevor Project, when we, unfortunately, here in San Diego, a couple years ago, we had a rash of suicides for LGBT youth, and they actually came to us and were instrumental in starting the youth programs at Pride. So thank you so much, John, for supporting that and helping that grow. Now we have a full-time youth coordinator, so yay! Like it's just growing,
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal, and even things that I was looking at with the Rob Benson event, Trevor Project, all those things. Also, it allows me to include which my employees or my family, it's always allowed me to include them. It was something that was always a way to expose younger people that work for me to the same types of nonprofits and the same types of groups that they probably wouldn't be a part of. So I love that all of these events really let me include as many people as I could and was able to.
I love that. So you're doing the teaching, you're teaching the philanthropic tradition. So can I ask, where did that start for you? Is it part of your family's ethic? Because, where does it come from?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about that also. And growing up, we kind of struggled financially. My dad was young when I was born and in college, and my mom had already had 3 kids. So there was like it was a small, big family kind of all at once.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, even as we got more successful, or as my dad got more successful after graduating, and probably around 13 is when I would think that our life kind of changed as far as like independence or financial independence. But, it was always important to him. He grew up, he was one of the first founding benefactors of like the Boys and Girls Club in America in our town. I was kind of born with a birth defect, so I always went to Shriners Hospital when I was young, and we were like given, scholarships and grants and stuff. And it was always just kind of a conversation at home about, when we could and when we were able to, that it was just an understanding that part of giving back was just part of the success, that had to be part of the intention. And for me also growing up, it was, after my parents had got separated, it kind of grew into my dad teaching me that part of me giving back would be to be able to financially take care of my mom and take care of my family. So, I mean, there was always kind of, a giving back. There was always your focus and your drive and kind of what you're doing when you're doing a business, owning your own business and starting your own business. The intention just can't be to make money. It has to be more than that. And that I just knew that from a really, really young age. And I don't know if anyone would ask like what I think kind of a secret of success as far as being a business owner is, your purpose has to be so much bigger than a financial gain, or even being an influencer in the community. It has to be bigger than that,
Well, that is a beautiful thing, because if you think about it, a successful business can't flourish in an unhealthy community, right? So if you're helping the community flourish, the community then comes back and hopefully helps your business flourish. That's a beautiful thing. And actually, it's actually kind of rare for folks who make it in the LGBT community to give back to their own community. There's some data that says that LGBT donors are right around 5% of our community. Only 5% give back to gay organizations. So if there's someone listening tonight and hearing about your success and how you've done so well, and you've really set that intention to give back, and they're thinking, where do I start? What would you tell them? How do they start getting involved?
I mean, I found Trevor literally from, it was, like I said, prior to social media. I found it because I was looking for something. If you have the intention of finding something that speaks to you, I mean, it did speak to me. I was already almost 30 by the time I discovered it, but it spoke to me in the sense that it was, suicide prevention. It was recognizing all aspects of not just the gay and lesbian community, but the questioning and the trans and the bisexual community. And that was something that didn't really, prior to that, it was really gay or lesbian, where the nonprofits that you had to be a part of, it wasn't really as inclusive for all that. It was really kind of, in my experience, also not really targeted towards young people. So I don't know. For me, I just found that you had to kind of find what fit. Once I got involved in Trevor, it was really easy for me to feel comfortable in that environment and realize that, I really love being able to notice the difference that you're making. And even with Pride, I mean, talking to you guys about like really having a definitive response to like what the money raised goes to changes everything. I think it changes everything. So if you have those kind of relationships with anybody in the sector, I think that would be what I did. I mean, I really just kind of searched for it. Find out the things that are important to you and really just search for them.
I love that. That's good advice. I mean, you can't get excited about something that doesn't resonate with you. With you, you found your niche with like working with youth and you went for it, full steam ahead. So I think that's really good advice. And then finally, we are blessed in San Diego with a gorgeous amount of young people. San Diego Pride has been engaged. I think last year we were over 5,000 youth through the various programs. We have the Queer Youth Chorus, the marching band, and the Youth Power Hour. A lot of them are stuck at home, maybe not with seeing their friends as much, maybe not with supportive parents. So I would love for you, as a successful man who's made it to the other side, to give them or share some words of encouragement. So what would you like to share with them if you could, if they're listening in?
I mean, one of the things that I would say to young people right now, and it's just different than it was when I was growing up, but what I would say, and I know this isn't necessarily super fitting for a lockdown or staying at home, but I really think it's important for young people to find a job, to get a job, whether it could be something online, it could be something at home, it could be something in your super local neighborhood, like not far. It could be, I mean, I just thought about this a lot, and I thought about what really changed for me, and it was just being out of the environment of just high school or just junior high. And I don't know. I think striving towards getting a job would be really important. It'd be something I would suggest. I think that I know social media is such a huge part of everyone's life right now, and especially when you're that young. But I think there is so many other online worlds that are outside of like the popular social media aspects. Trevor has a Trevor chat. A public domain of Trevor chat, and really connecting people all over the country that are similar to them. Finding avenues like that is really helpful if you have to be at home a lot.
Shout out to San Diego Pride's Power Hours. We have Power Hours with our young ones, so they can check it out.
I thought about this and I was like, God, it's so hard to suggest something when people are kind of, especially young people, are kind of stuck at home. But I just think there is so many other ways to, you can further your education online.
Yes.
You can take classes online. There's trade things online. I mean, I just really think for me, getting a job at a really young age really put me in, I don't know, it just put me in a different direction, and it took me out of being too caught up in daily high school life and daily, junior high life. It really gave me, I was around a little bit of older people. I kind of had that conversation with people that, once high school is over, everything's going to be different. College is going to be so different. Like you're going to be, and that's kind of the thing I gave to my little sister when she was getting ready to get through school. And I was like, life's going to change so much for the better when you're, entering college and doing something.
That is golden advice, because I think the same was true for me. I came from a very small town, a very, very tight-knit family, and, pursuing my education, getting a job in New York City opened up my world a little bit. And I saw that there were different kind of people and different ways of being. And that was such a wonderful reassurance to me that I could be the person that I thought of in my head of being, it wasn't as
Kind of along those lines, it was kind of put to the test for me too when I had to go back home. You have to go back home and be like, I've been growing into this person. I need to present, who I am and what I've learned and what I could bring at this point to something different. I don't know. I think that would be for young people. I think that's just a really important focus.
I love it. And I think that's where we're going to end on that. I think it's a beautiful sentiment.
Awesome.
Anything you want to say to any friends and family at home?
I'll just hate everybody watching. And if you're paying attention, I'm sure I'll get texts, but they've heard a lot. They've all been part of my journey, particularly with Trevor and a lot of the other events. So I don't know. It's just been awesome. It's been really thankful for you doing this. It's kind of different, but I think it's meaningful and I like it.
Well, we're excited to have you. And the last thing I'll say is thank you so much. We are so proud to have you as a donor, not just for us, but for other organizations of the community. And behalf of our community, thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, good night. Well, that was a really fun chat. I adore him, and I hope you'll go check out Harley Gray and sample some of their wonderful takeout that they have going on, or dine in, socially distanced, of course. We are going to be talking to Bix on Tuesday, July 7th at 6 p.m. They are getting our Champion of Pride Award. And you can also save the date for our virtual rally when we'll be honoring all of our awardees on Friday, July 17th at 6 p.m. So thank you so much. Happy Giving Out Day. We are still fundraising. So if you would like to support some of the youth programs that John has supported in the past, please do give. You have the link there on your screen. All of the donations will be matched up to $10,000 that we receive in the next 3 hours. So please give as you can. And thank you so much for joining us.